Okay, once again, good morning everyone. And today, ang focus po natin ay CVP analysis or cost, volume, profit analysis. Sometimes, ang tawag din dito ay break-even analysis. Sa CVP analysis, mini-measure natin or ine-examine natin yung behavior ng revenues, ng cost, at saka ng profit natin every time na meron changes sa output level, okay, may changes sa fixed cost natin, may changes sa selling price, pwede rin, or may changes sa variable cost natin. So, tinitingnan natin yung behavior ulit ng total revenue, ng cost natin, at ng profit natin. Okay, and I'd like to show you this CVP graph or cost volume profit graph. So, in this graph, you can see in your y-axis yung amount in peso, and then the number of units sold in your x-axis. Okay, ito ay line, so dapat meron niyang tawag dyan, arrow at the end of the line. Yeah. So it's a line for the total revenue. Kung mapapansin mo, itong line na to, kapag wala kang number of units sold, pag zero yan, zero din yung amount ng revenue natin. Pero habang nag-i-increase tayo ng number of units sold, halimbawa at this point, ito po ang revenue natin. So pag ito po binenta natin, ito ang revenue natin. So habang dumadami yung number of units na nabibenta natin, tumataas din po yung amount of our revenue. Okay, tanggalin lang natin ulit. The other line here is your total cost line. Okay, dito nagsimula. Bakit kaya dito nagsimula? Pakita natin later. Okay, so kung makikita nyo, linear din yung total cost natin. Tapos may point po na ang total cost line ay nag-intersect sa total revenue line. And that is what we call break-even point. Sabi natin, total revenue ay equal sa total cost. Kasi pag sinabi mong break-even, in layman's term, parang bawi lang yung puhunan. So parang lahat ng revenue mo ay equal sa lahat ng cost mo. Ano bang cost ang tinutukoy natin? Yung fixed cost natin at saka yung variable cost. Bakit ganito yung itsura ng total cost line natin? Gawa lang tayo ng isa pang graph sa tabi. Y-axis is still the amount, the x-axis is the number of units sold. Okay, in your y-axis, kapag variable cost line ang pinag-uusapan, ang variable cost mo, pag, di ba, pag wala kang na-incur or wala kang na-produce, zero din ang variable cost mo. Pero pag dumadami yung number of units na nabebenta mo or napoproduce mo, ang variable cost mo tumataas. So basically, ganyan po ang itsura ng variable cost line natin. Pero kapag fixed cost ang pinag-uusapan natin, if you remember the definition, ito ay constant in total. Ibig sabihin, kahit gaano karami yung units sold, the fixed cost will remain the same. Ganyan po ang itsura. Okay, that is your fixed cost. Kaya pag pinagsama mo, yung cost natin na variable at saka yung fixed natin na cost, ang itsura niya would be parallel to the variable cost. Ayan. At ito po yung total cost line na nakikita natin dito sa ating CVP graph. Pabalikan na natin CVP graph natin. Okay. Now, pinakita natin na dito sa point na to nag-intersect ang revenue at ang cost, and that is what we call break-even point. Ito yung break-even point in terms of units, at ito ang break-even point in terms of your sales. Parang sinabi natin, how many units must be sold or how much sales must be generated to achieve the break-even point. So dito po natin makikita yon. Tingnan po muna natin yung part na nasa kaliwa ng break-even point. Ito po ay total cost line, ito po ay total revenue line. Mapapansin niyo po, mas mataas yung total cost line kaysa sa total revenue line. So at this point, itong area na to, that is what we call our loss. Loss po tayo dyan kasi mas malaki nga yung cost over your revenue. Pero sa kanan ng break-even, mas mataas na yung total revenue line kaysa sa total cost line, and that is the point wherein profit na po ang meron tayo. At habang lumalayo pa dyan, profit po ang magkakaroon tayo. In other words, once you are able to determine the break-even point, kapag halimbawa lumabas yan 3,000 units, kapag mas mababa sa 3,000 units, kahit hindi ka mag-compute, alam mo na tayo ay may operating loss. Pero kapag mas mataas sa 3,000 units, ang ating number of units sold, alam mo kahit hindi ka mag-compute na meron tayong profit. Okay, and if you remember in our discussion last time of the absorption versus variable costing method, isa sa mga benefits ng paggamit ng variable costing method is itong paggamit natin ng CVP analysis. Mas marami tayong decisions sa magagawa, mas marami tayong analysis sa magagawa para sa ikabubuti or sa improvement ng ating operations. All right. At this point, bago tayo mag-continue with our discussion with CVP analysis, dapat alam muna natin kung ano yung mga assumptions sa CVP analysis. So hindi naman siya perfectly na may measure or na-examine natin yung behavior. Of course, there are assumptions or limitations. Number one, lahat ng costs natin are either variable or fixed. Hindi ba ganun din tayo sa variable costing method? Lahat ng costs natin naka-split into variable and fixed component. If ever na meron pong mixed cost, meron pong way ang company para yung mixed cost na yan ay ma-separate into variable and fixed components so that we can perform the CVP analysis. So it's either you make use of the high-low method, the scatter diagram, or the least square method, or linear regression, or pwede rin po yung multilinear regression. So kung ano po yung available sa company na tool para ma-separate yung mga mixed costs natin. Okay. Another assumption is the total cost and total revenues are predictable and linear. Nakita naman po natin, di ba, na sa CVP graph, linear po yung ating total cost at total revenue. And we can predict na habang tumataas ang number of units sold, tumataas din ang total cost at total revenue natin. Ayan. And we also assume na yung pinag-uusapan natin dito ay within the relevant range. Meaning, the cost relationships are valid. Yung sinabi natin na fixed costs remain constant in total and unit variable costs remain constant. So, yan pa rin ay assumption natin dito sa CVP analysis. And of course, yung unit selling price remain constant din. Kasi pag nagbago ang unit selling price, magkakaroon na ng ibang analysis dito. Or magbabago po yung mga makukompute natin na amount of break-even and so on. Okay? And the finished goods and work-in-process inventories do not change significantly. In our discussion on absorption versus the variable costing method, di ba meron tayong P is greater than S, P is less than S, meaning production exceeds sales or production is less than the sales. Dito ang assumption natin, ang production natin ay equal sa sales. And we assume, kasi hindi nagbabago significantly ang finished goods at working process inventories natin, meaning we can assume that P is equal to S. Okay? So with that, pag tinanong sa exam, how many units must be sold? Parang tinanong din tayo, how many units must be produced? So yan, another assumption in CVP analysis. And of course, we will assume that the time value of money here is ignored. Ayan. And before we continue, let us introduce some terms in CVP analysis. The margin of safety and margin of safety ratio. From the term itself, safety. Pag sinabi mong safety, hindi tayo magiging loss dito. So meaning, ito yung margin. This is the amount na pwedeng ang sales natin can go down without incurring losses. If your actual sales, for example, ay 500,000, tapos na-compute natin na ang ating break-even sales ay 400,000. Ibig sabihin po, yung 100,000, yung margin of safety natin. If your sales go down by the amount of up to 100,000 pesos, alam mo kahit di ka mag-compute, may income pa rin tayo or hindi tayo mag-loss. Halimbawa, bumaba ng 75,000. Ibig sabihin, ang sales mo na ay magiging 425,000. Still, that is more than the break-even sales sa 400,000. So therefore, safe pa rin po tayo at hindi tayo magiging loss. MOS ratio. Whenever the term margin is in the ratio, we always compare it with sales. Kaya pag ganun po, laging ang denominator natin ay sales. Lahat po ng may margin, ang denominator po natin ay sales. Ano yung numerator? Ito yung pangalan ng ratio, MOS ratio. So MOS yung nasa ibabaw. So lumalabas po dito, 100,000 yung MOS natin over the sales. Ang question, aling sales? Yung actual sales po natin, 500,000. Lumalabas, 20%. That is the MOS ratio. What does it mean? Kapag ang sales mo bumaba ng 15% lang, alam mo na safe ka pa din. Hindi ka pa rin magiging loss. Kasi ang margin mo ay 20 at ang 15% ay pasok sa margin of safety ratio na meron tayo. Okay, so yan po si margin of safety and MOS ratio. Alright, next term would be, ayan, degree of operating leverage. So dito naman po, minimeasure naman nito kung gaano ka-sensitive yung ating profit sa ating sales. Ibig sabihin, kung merong changes or merong increase or merong changes sa sales natin, gaano ka-sensitive yung increase or change din sa profit natin. Kaya po ito, di ba, ang ating income statement ay sales minus the variable cost. If you remember in our variable costing method, ito na po tayo, contribution margin approach, so CM. And then minus your fixed cost, we have our operating income. Your degree of operating leverage, which is also your operating leverage factor, is your CM over your operating income. Ito pong dalawa na to. Dinidivide lang natin. Okay? Again, we are measuring how sensitive yung ating changes sa profit with the changes in our sales. Next term would be the contribution margin. So medyo nakilala na natin to in our previous discussion, but this one is the contribution margin. Wherein sales minus ima-minus mo po yung variable cost, makukuha mo po si contribution margin. Okay? Introduce na rin natin si CMU and CMR. CMU is contribution margin per unit and CMR is contribution margin ratio. Ang CMU po natin, express lang natin yung sales, variable cost, and CM into per unit. So SPU, selling price per unit, minus the VCU. We will come up with the CMU or contribution margin per unit. Pagdating naman sa CMR, meron tayong dalawang ways of doing it. It's either yung total approach na contribution margin over your total sales. Ayan. Pwede na rin naman po nang gawin natin ay CMU over your SPU. So kung ano po yung available na data, yun yung gamitin natin to come up with our contribution margin ratio. Ayan. And then, let's continue. Break-even in units or sales. Nasabi natin kanina, break-even is the point wherein there is no profit or there is no loss. So kapag ganito karami na benta mo, bawi mo lang yung puhunan mo. Pag ganito karami or ganito yung amount ng sales mo, bawi mo lang yung total cost mo. Okay? And we're going to show in the next slide kung paano ba talaga nag-arrive dun sa formula ng break-even. Okay? And sales mix. Ano ibig sabihin ng sales mix? May mga companies kasi that are selling 2 or more products. For example, A, B, and C. For every product of A, 3 ang nabebenta na B, 4 ang nabebenta na C. That is what we call sales mix. And dagdag po sa assumption natin in Cvp analysis, dagdag po sa mga na-mention natin kanina, na ang sales mix natin ay constant. So we assume it to be constant para yung doon natin i-compare sa mga susunod na period yung mga magiging performance natin. Baka naman yung reason ko bakit hindi na-achieve yung ganitong desired income is because hindi na-achieve yung desired na sales mix. Okay, so that is what we call sales mix. So those are the terms that we have to be familiar with before we proceed with our mga susunod na mga discussions. Okay. Just to show, di ba sabi natin, yung sales natin minus cost of goods sold is our gross profit. Para hindi po natin malimutan, dito po tayo nagsimula talaga yung ating original na income statement. This is under the absorption costing method, di ba? And then under the variable costing method, break down lang natin into variable and fixed component yung ating mga cost, and all the variable will be in the upper part of your income statement. So sales minus our variable cost, we have the contribution margin. Minus all the fixed costs, we have our operating income. So parehas na po ulit sila. Okay? Now, if break-even ang pinag-uusapan natin, sabi natin, break-even is there is no profit and no loss condition. Ibig sabihin, OI is 0. In that case, if your fixed cost is 100,000, automatically contribution margin is also 100,000. Okay? Sometimes in the theories, lumalabas po yan. At break-even, equal po talaga ang contribution margin sa fixed cost. Kasi kung hindi, magkakaroon po ng either income or loss po tayo. Kasi break-even, dapat 0. Sila lang naman pinag-minus. So, these two have to be equal. If your variable cost is 300,000 pesos, therefore, your break-even sales must be 400,000 pesos. Yeah, so that's the amount of sales that must be generated to break even. And let us assume that the number of units sold for this one is 4,000 units. Okay, so kung 4,000 units yan, let's just compute for SPU, so that is 100 pesos. And then for VCU, that is magkano po? 75 pesos. And then for CMU, that is 25 pesos. So, yung mga terms lang po gusto lang natin gawin muna para maging mas familiar pa po tayo. Now, for the CMR, sabi natin pwedeng gamitin yung total data, pwede rin gamitin yung mga per unit na data. For CMR, gamitin natin yung CM over sales. And that is 100,000 over your 400,000. Lumalabas po na ang contribution margin ratio natin ay 25%. Pwede na rin naman po sabi natin CMU over your SPU. So dito po, ang CMU natin ay 25 pesos, ang SPU natin ay 100. Parehas lang din po sila na 25%. Yung po yung sinasabi natin, whether total approach or per unit approach, parehas lang po ang contribution margin ratio. Okay. Now, binigyan natin ng scenario kanina, what if 500,000 ang sales natin? Magkano kaya ang variable cost natin? That is 375,000. Paano nanggaling? Paano nakuha? Kasi 5,000 units po ito. 5,000 times 75 is 375,000. Your contribution margin is 125,000. Then your fixed cost is 100,000. Ayan. And then your operating income is 25,000. Fixed costs remain constant. Ayan. Ang variable cost per unit remain constant per unit po siya. Okay? So, ano pa yung pwede natin ma-derive ng mga terms na napag-usapan natin kanina? Yung DOL. Degree of operating leverage. That is CM over operating income. Ang CM natin ay 125,000. Over the operating income natin na 25 pesos. 1,000 rather. So ang DOL natin or operating leverage factor is 5. That is how sensitive your change in profit with a change in your sales. Okay. This slide is for the pag-compute or pag-derive natin ng break-even na formula. Di ba sabi natin, total revenue minus total cost is our operating income. Yan pa lang po ang pinag-usapan natin kanina. Kapag break-even, this is 0. So therefore, total revenue is equal to your total cost. Or, ang total revenue natin is our sales, di ba? Ang sales po natin ay equal po sa total cost na variable cost plus fixed cost. So, inaano lang po natin, pinapakita lang natin kung paano na-derive yung formula. Ang sales po natin is multiply natin yung selling price per unit with the number of units sold. And variable cost naman ay variable cost per unit times the number of units sold, pero ang fixed cost ay held constant. Hinahanap natin yung X, or the number of units that must be sold to break even. So sabi ng math, pagsamahin to, SPUX minus VCUX para makuha natin yung X, and that is equal to FC. Ilabas ang X, sabi ng algebra, SPU minus VCU ang may iwan sa loob is equal to FC or fixed cost. Napansin kung ano yung SPU minus VCU? That is CMU. So therefore, X is FC over CMU. So when we are asked for the break-even units, the formula is X is equal to fixed cost over CMU. Paano sir kapag sales ang hinahanap? Walang problema. That is FC over CMR. Madaling tandaan, pag units ang hinahanap, CMU ang denominator. Pag sales ang hinahanap, ratio ang denominator. Okay, so yan lang po yung dalawang formula na kailangan natin tandaan. Pero all the rest in CVP analysis ay yung depende sa pag-analyze natin ng mga problems. Sir, sabi natin, CVP analysis, we are measuring or examining the behavior of your profit, your total revenue, your total cost. Kapag may changes sa fixed cost, variable cost, selling price. Pag nagkakaroon ng changes sa fixed cost, halimbawa, ang gusto ng management, maka-achieve ng desired income. Yung desired income na yan, idadagdag mo po sa numerator muna. Dagdag natin sa numerator. Malalaman natin number of units to be sold para ma-achieve yung desired income. But sometimes to achieve the desired income, mag-a-advertise tayo. So possible fixed cost yung madadagdag sa atin. Dagdag lang po natin lahat ng advertising expense, lahat ng fixed cost sa ibabaw. Kasi yun po yung kasama ng fixed cost dito. What if ang changes ay nasa variable cost? Nasaan ba yung variable cost? Nandito po sa CMU. Di ba ito ay SPU minus VCU. Kung ang changes ay nasa variable cost, yung ilalim po ng formula yung magbabago sa atin. Kung ang changes ay nasa selling price, ito po ang magbabago. So you just have to know kung saan lang mag-take effect yung mga changes na sasabihin sa problems. Okay? Ganon din po ang effect dito sa kapag ang hinahanap ay sales. So you just have to add at the numerator kapag fixed at i-adjust sa ilalim or denominator kapag ang changes ay nasa variable component, sa variable cost, or sa selling price per unit. Okay? So, let's have this example. So, for our case 1, your turn sells its products at 80 pesos per unit with a unit variable cost of 55. So dito pa lang, usually hinahanap na kagad natin SPU 80, VCU 55. Tapos hanapin na kagad natin yung mga kailangan natin sa formula. CMU is 25, di ba? Its fixed cost is 81,000 pesos. Ang tanong lang naman, how many units must be sold to achieve the following? Units ang tinatanong. So X po ang dapat nating ipakita. Okay? So X would be fixed cost over CMU for number 1. Ang fixed cost natin ay 81,000 divided by the CMU of 25 pesos. So magkano po or ilan ang ating units that must be sold to break even? That is 3,240 units. All right. But just to show, sales minus the variable cost. We have the contribution margin minus the fixed cost. We have our operating income. Ang sales po natin, kapag 3,240 units ang kino-consider natin, so that's 3,240 times 80, 259,200. Minsan kasi class ang tinatanong sa exam is magkano ang income kapag ganitong level ng profit ang meron tayo. So ang gagawin lang natin, adjust lang natin lahat ng variable and then the fixed component must be the same. Variable cost is 55 times 3,240. So that's 178,200. Lumalabas ang contribution margin natin ay 81,000 at ang fixed cost mo ay 81,000 din. So therefore, operating income is 0. Tamang-tama sa number 1, break even kasi yung tinatanong. Okay, let's go to number 2. What if may pre-tax income na desired na 26,000? So X would be equal to 81,000 pesos. Sabi natin, i-add lang natin sa numerator yung desired income na yan over 25. Lumalabas po ilang units ang dapat mabenta. That's 4,280. And with that, pakita natin, talaga bang ma-achieve yung 26,000. So that's 4,280. Ang sales mo ay 80 times 4 to 80. That is 342,400. Magkano variable cost? 55 times 4 to 80. That's 235,400. And then 342,400 minus the 235,400, that's 107,000. Minus the fixed cost of 81,000, lumalabas po na 26,000 po ang ating operating income na meet natin yung requirement sa number 2. Okay? I'd like you to answer number 3. So I am giving you a minute to answer or to give me your answer in number 3, and your time starts now. Okay, I can see some answers now. Ang answer ng iba ay 9,000. About the others? 4,050. 3,125. Aba, iba-iba. 9,000. Kasi ganito naman talaga yung mga magandang ibigay sa exam. Kasi pag sa CVP analysis, kapag ang binigay sa iyo ay may desired income na amount na ganito, medyo madali lang. Okay, let's try to solve para next time hindi natin makommit ang the same mistake. Okay, so X is equal to, di ba, FC? X is equal to FC plus your desired income over your CMU. Yan naman gusto natin mangyari. So ang FC natin ay 81,000. Plus, ang desired income mo ay 20% of sales. So, 0.2 ng sales. However, ano nga ang formula ng sales natin? Di ba that is your SPU X. Selling price per unit times the number of unit X. Ito siguro yung na-miss out na iba. It should be 80X. Alright? Over 25. And this time, let's do our math. So, 25X is equal to 81,000 plus 0.16x. Lumalabas, 9x is equal to 81,000 or x is equal to 9,000 pesos. Okay? So, ang gawin po natin, ipakita lang po natin ngayon kung talaga ba na ma-achieve natin yung 20% of your sales. So 9,000 units pala to. So magkano ang sales natin? 9,000 times 80 pesos. So that's 720,000 pesos. And then your variable cost is 55 times 9,000. That's 495,000 pesos. So ang contribution margin natin ay 720,000 minus the 495, that's 225,000. And then the fixed cost is 81,000. Lumalabas na ang ating operating income ay 225 minus 81,000. Lumalabas na ito ay 144,000. And let us check. 144,000 divided by 720,000. Dapat ito po ay 20%. So 144 divided by 720,000. Yes, 20% po. Okay? So, wag po idiretso na 0.2x. Magkakamali po tayo dyan. Ayan. So, let's proceed sa number 4. So, we are asked for the number of units that must be sold if the minimum after-tax income of 5,000 is desired. So, x is equal to 81,000 plus 5,000 na desired income. Oops, smoke ng 0. Kaya lang class, this is after tax. Ang gagawin natin, i-gross up natin para makuha natin yung income before tax. So 1 minus tax rate. So 1 minus, ang tax rate po natin dito ay 40%. So 1 minus 0.4 or which is 0.6 nga, divided by 25. So our answer would be 81,000 plus 5,000, i-divide po natin ng 0.6 yung 5,000. And then i-divide natin ng 25 to get the number of units that must be sold. So it is 3,573 units. Actually, may 0.33. But it doesn't matter kung may 0.33 or gawin mo itong 3,573 or sa ibang company, 3,574 na daw yan. So sa classroom natin, usually up to the decimal, may mga 2 decimal places or kung wala man, ang examiner hindi naman magbibigay ng letter A, 3,573, letter B, 3,573.33, letter C, 3,574, hindi naman magaganon. Okay? So, pakita lang natin kung talaga bang 5,000 yung after-tax income. So, ang sales natin, kapag 3,573 po ang ating unit sold, 3,573 times 80 pesos. So, lumalabas na 285,840. Ang variable cost po natin, so 3,573 times 55 pesos, it's 196,515. So, ang contribution margin po natin ay 285,840 minus 196,515. Ito po ay 89,325. Magkano fixed cost natin? That's 81,000. Ayan. And then our operating income would be 8,325. Tapos ang tax po natin ay 40%. So 8,325 times 0.4, ito po ay 3,330. So lumalabas po na ang operating income natin ay 8,325 minus 3,330, it's 4,995. Bakit hindi 5,000? Remember, nag-round off po tayo. May konting differences lang due to rounding off. And if that's the case, that is acceptable na. Alright? Ayan. Tingnan ko nga po kung natuto na. Number 5 po. May I know your answer if the minimum after-tax income of 15% of sales is desired? So please put that in our chat box. The number 5. Ang bilis naman itong isa na to. Alright, that's very good. Tama kaya. Mukhang sinosolve na habang nagdi-discuss ako ng ibang number Anyways, sige, huwag na natin hintayin yung 1 minute. Ituloy na po natin yung pag-solve. Dire-diretso na po ang pagpasok ng answer. So x is equal to 81,000 plus 0.15. Matuto tayo na ito ay SPUX 80x over, after tax rate, divide mo pa ng 0.6 all over 25. So let's do our math. 25x is equal to 81,000 plus, simplify natin to, 0.15 times 80 divided by 0.6, that's 20x. So 5x is 81,000. So 81,000 divided by 5. So lumalabas po that your x is really 16,200. Ayaw na bumaba. Okay, tingnan natin yung chat ng iba. 16,200, very good, very good. So x is, ayan. Okay, very good class. So everybody got the correct answer. It's 16,200. Palagay ko dito lang talaga kayo nadali kanina sa pag-compute ng sales. Na madali, medyo naging careless, ginawang 0.2x yung kanina or this time 0.15x, mga ganun. Alright, so let's continue with the case 1. Huwag na natin i-prove. Talaga namang sure na tayo na ito ay magiging equal. Na-prove naman na natin yung pagiging tama ng formula. Let's go to case 1 pa rin, pero number 6. But this time, I need your comments, lalo na sa pag-decide kung talaga bang dapat tayo mag-advertise or hindi. Okay. In this case, your turn sells its products at 80 pesos per unit. So actually, same lang naman po. So ang CMU pa rin natin ay 80 per unit minus 55 per unit. Ang CMU pa rin po natin ay 25. Ang fixed cost po natin ay 81,000 pa rin po. Yun nga lang sabi sa number 6. Let us suppose that the target pre-tax income is 50,000 May desired income na 50,000. The company is presently selling 5,000 units. Try nga po natin tingnan. X is equal to 81,000 plus 50,000 na desired income over 25. Ilang units ang dapat na mabenta natin para ma-reach yung desired income? So 81,000 plus 50,000 divided by 25. Ang answer po ay 5,240 units. Ibig sabihin po, the company is presently selling 5,000 units, kulang po yung nabebenta natin. Kulang ng 240 para ma-achieve natin yung pre-tax income of 50,000. Kaya naman inisip ng management, to increase sales, the management is considering an advertising program that will cost 10,000 pesos. So syempre, pag nag-advertise ka, ang in-expect natin, mas maraming ma-reach out na customers, so dapat yung sales natin mag-increase. The management estimates that this will increase sales by 500 units. Ang tanong po dito, what should be the minimum increase in sales so that the company could easily consider advertising the product? Pero ang tanong ko na lang muna ngayon, if you are the one to decide, magkakaroon ng increase na 500 units, are you going to proceed with the advertisement or not? Ang answer po natin, yes or no sa chat box. Kulang, hindi umaabot ng 50,000 ang ating pre-tax income kasi 5,000 lang nabebenta, dapat 5,240 units. Nag-advertise, nagdagdagan ng 500 units. Ang tanong, dapat ba i-proceed ang advertisement or not? If you are to decide, yes or no. Mukhang nag-iingat sa pagsagot ha. Tingnan, ayan. So, tingnan po natin sagot. No, no, no. Wow, ang higpit. No pa rin. Bakit no pa rin? 500 na idadagdag. Sige, puro ayun, merong yes. Majority wins, no, ganon. Okay, kung kayong board of directors at puro no, mukhang no ang magiging sagot natin talaga. Ipakita po muna natin. Kasi sometimes ang tanong sa exam, magkano ba yung present na performance ng company? So let's show na, di ba, 5,000 po tayo, 5,000 units. So magkano ang sales po natin sa 5,000 units? 5,000 times 80, that's 400,000. Ang variable cost po natin ay 55 times 5,000. 55 times 5,000, that's 275,000. Diba? So ang CM natin ay 125,000. Ang ating fixed cost po ay 81,000. Therefore, ang operating income ng 5,000 units ay 125,000 minus 81, that's 44,000. Short po siya sa 50,000 na target. Okay? Ngayon, ang ginawa ng company, nag-advertise po siya ng 10,000 pesos, kaya naging 5,500 ang sales natin. Diba? So ang sales po natin ay 80 pesos times 5,500. Magkano na yung ating sales? 440,000. Yan. Ang variable cost natin ay 55 times 5,500. That's 302,500. Ayan. Okay, and then our CM is 440,000 minus the answer, 137,500. Ang fixed cost po natin ay magkano? Hindi na po siya 81,000, kundi 91,000 na. Bakit? Kasi meron po tayong advertisement na 10,000 na nadagdag na fixed cost. So lumalabas po, it's 46,500. Ang tanong po, ano nangyari sa operating income natin? Tumaas ng 2,500. Ngayon po tatanungin ko ulit kayo. Kung kayo po yung board of director or yung managers, nakita nyo tumaas ng 2.5, ipapatuloy nyo ba yung advertisement or hindi? Magbabago ba ang isip nyo ngayon? No pa rin ba? Or yes na tayo? Patingin nga po. Tumaas ng 2.5. Yes or no na tayo? No pa rin. No, 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 no. Why? Simply because, oops, may umahabol. O no, lahat no na. Kasi ang target income mo ay 50,000. So pag mag-i-strategize ka at alam mo hindi mo naman pala ma-reach yung 50,000, wag mo na i-proceed yung project na yun. So ibig sabihin, the advertising program that costs 10,000 hindi magbibigay ng enough benefits for us to achieve the desired income. Pero class, kung walang na-mention na desired income, walang 50,000, walang nabanggit na 50,000 na desired income, kapag tumaas to, the answer would be yes na. Kasi tumaas po yung operating income natin. Pero dahil meron po tayong pre-tax income na desired or na target, so ang answer po talaga natin ay no. Bakit kasi, bakit no pa rin? Kasi if we compute x is equal to 81,000 plus 50,000 plus, of course, ilalagay natin sa numerator natin yung 10,000 na additional na expense, so advertising expense natin over 25 pesos. Ang lumalabas po rito ay 81,000 plus 50,000 plus 10,000 divided by 25 pesos, lumalabas na 5,640 units. So ang answer po natin sa problem talaga, what should be the minimum increase in sales or in terms of units so that the company could really consider advertising the product? The answer is 640 units. Nakuha po? Ayan. Kung sinabi ng management na ang estimate nila na increase ng sales ay 1,000 units, do we advertise? Yes. Kasi that exceeds the minimum increase na requirement para i-proceed natin yung advertisement na yan. Okay? So let's go to the next question in the same case. Same scenario. So yung kanina, para ma-achieve ang desired income, ang ginagawa ng company, nag-advertise, o kaya ginagawa ng iba, nagbibigay ng incentive sa mga sales clerk para magkaroon ng increase. Siyempre, pag may incentive yung mga sales clerk, the more that they will be encouraged to sell, kasi meron silang incentive. Ngayon, in this case, number 7, the firm wants to know when cutting prices will increase the sales enough to create the required profit. So, di ba kapag nagkakaroon ng sales sa mga malls, bumababa yung price, ang nangyayari, mas malaki yung volume na nabebenta nila. Na-attract yung mga customers to buy more or mas maraming customers ang nagpupunta to really buy the product kasi mas mura nga, to take advantage of the lower price. Now, if the company cuts its price to 75 from 80 pesos, the managers think that they could sell 1,000 more units. So ngayon, ang tanong, sapat ba yung 1,000 more units na to? And what should be the minimum increase in sales? But let us show first, kasi baka ang itanong, magkano ang profit natin if we're going to cut the price to 75 tapos magdadagdag ng 1,000 more units. Let us show again yung income statement natin dun sa dalawang performance na to. 5,000, yung isa naman 6,000. So the sales here, yung kanina, yung 400,000. The variable cost na 275. Sulat ko lang po ulit. Ito po yung nasa previous slide. CM natin is 125,000. Tapos ang fixed cost po natin ay 81,000. And then, ang operating income po natin ay 44,000. Ito po yung scenario natin kanina rin. Ngayon, naging 6,000 na. But your sales would be 6,000 times 75 pesos na lang. So that would be 450 pesos. Nagbaba po tayo ng price, right? So 55 times 6,000, your cost or yung variable cost mo ay 330,000. Kaya po ang CM natin ay 120,000 this time. Ang fixed cost mo is still 81,000. Wala namang pong kinalaman or independent to dun sa may 10,000 na advertisement. So that would be 39,000. Dito obviously, may target o wala, hindi natin ikakat yung price to 75. Why? Bumaba ang operating income. And at the same time, hindi na-reach yung target natin na 50,000. So talagang no ang sagot natin sa number 7 doon sa project na to na i-cut yung price. Kaya sometimes class, yung mga malls, hindi naman sila basta-basta nagka-cut ng price. So dinidetermine nila, depende sa number of units na idadagdag na sales sa kanila, kung gaano yung ikakat nila ng price. Kung sa tingin nila, lugi, hindi nila ikakat ng this much, ng 5 pesos. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo minsan yung sale up to 10%, iba up to 20%, iba up to 30%, iba up to 70% kasi they cannot afford na i-let go much of the revenue. Kasi hindi pala nila na-expect that they could, this action could give them more or enough na additional sales. Tingnan po natin, just to answer number 7, ilan ba dapat ang ibenta? X is equal to 81,000 plus the desired income of 50,000. Ano po ang CMU natin? Di ba ang CMU natin na ay hindi na 80 minus 55, kundi hindi na siya, kundi 75 minus 55. So that's 20 pesos. So lumalabas po na 81,000 plus 50,000. The desired income divided by 20 pesos, 6,550 units. So ang increase po natin na minimum ay 1,550. So kulang pala yung 1,000 more units. Kaya ganyan po ginagawa ng companies. Kung ganito ang gagawin natin pag-cut ng price, ilan ba ang kapalit? 1,550 dapat at least. Kaya ba niyang tumbasan ng increase in sales kapag talagang ibinaba natin? Kapag hindi, huwag natin i-cut yung ating price. So dapat ang minimum increase ay 1,550. Alright? Ayan. So medyo ito naman ay mga independent na mga problems na. So let's answer this one. If you have question again, we can put that in our chat box and we can entertain that. Siguro, depende sa question. Kung talagang related sa pinag-uusapan right now, kung hindi, sasagutin natin mamaya. Okay, so let's answer this independent problem number 1. So Hopia Corporation expects the following operating results for next year. Ang tanong lang naman po, magkano po yung fixed expenses for next year? Given your sales, margin of safety, contribution margin ratio, and degree of operating leverage. Now class, dito pa lang, may madiderive lang tayo, analyze lang natin na merong 300,000 na break-even in terms of sales, right? 300,000 po ang break-even sales natin. Kasi meron po tayo dito margin of safety na 100,000 pesos. So ang actual sales ay 400, so ang break-even natin ay 300,000 pesos. Pero to answer the question, hindi naman natin siya kailangan. So ang sales po natin ay 400,000 pesos. Ang contribution margin po natin ay 75%, which is 300,000 pesos. Pag tinanong kung magkano yung variable cost, that is actually 100,000 pesos. Diba? Tinatanong yung fixed cost natin, hindi po natin alam. Pero we can compute for the operating income because meron tayong degree of operating leverage. Remember, ang DOL ay CM over OI, and that is equal to 4. At ang CM po natin ay 300,000 equal to 300,000 over the operating income na hinahanap din natin. Lumalabas po ng operating income natin ay 75,000. So therefore, if this is 75,000, the fixed cost is 225,000. So your answer here is 225,000. Okay? Let's now proceed to number 2. Ayan. So this time, the margin of safety in Versace company is 24,000. If the company sales are 120,000 and its variable expenses are 80,000, magkano po ang fixed expenses natin? So kunin muna natin dito. Ang sales po natin ay 120,000. Ang variable expenses po natin ay 80,000. Ayan. And from here, we can compute for the CM, and that is 40,000. Wala na pong sinabing ibang data, but we need to get the fixed expenses. Buti na lang, sabi dito, the margin of safety is 24,000. So what can we derive from here? Yung break-even point. Ang break-even sales natin ay 96,000, right? Ima-minus po natin yung 24,000 na margin of safety. Magkano variable expenses or magkano contribution margin natin? If you can see, ang contribution margin natin ay 1/3 ng sales or 40 over 120. So 1/3 of 96 is 32,000. Buti na lang, kapag break-even, itong CM ay equal sa fixed cost. Because if the fixed cost is 32,000, masasatisfy natin yung criteria or yung condition na break-even na zero ang operating income. So therefore, ang answer po natin dito ay 32,000. Okay? Ayan. So for this one, I am giving you a minute to solve for this one. So basahin ko lang muna yung problem. So whole company's variable expenses are 70% of sales. At 300,000 pesos sales level, the DOL is 10. If sales increase by 60,000, ano na ang bagong DOL natin? So I'd like you to answer this one and put that in our chat box. Okay, let me see your answers. 4, 12, 12, 12. Oh, iba-iba. Oops. 4, 12, 12, 12. So dalawa lang sagot. It's either 4 or 12. Tingnan po natin. May umahabol pang mga answers. 4. Uy, mas maraming 12. May konting 4. Tingnan po natin. So the variable expenses are 70% of sales. At 300,000 sales level, so sales po natin ay 300,000. Bakit ganyan mga sinusulat natin ngayon? Let's see po natin. Ang sales po natin ay 300,000. Tapos ang variable cost po natin ay 70% ng sales. So that's 210,000, di ba? So fixed cost ay 90,000. Sa ngayon, ang DOL natin ay 10. So from here, bakit fixed cost to? Okay lang ba tayo? Ito ay contribution margin. Ang fixed cost po natin ay hahanapin natin. So our operating income is, magkano po? Ang DOL ay 10. So ibig sabihin, CM over OI ay 10. So ito po ay 9,000. Kaya ang fixed cost po natin ay lumalabas na 81,000. Ang tinatanong, what will be your DOL if ang sales mo mag-increase ng 60,000? So wala naman pong ibang nangyari dito sa problem natin. Yung sales ang nag-increase pero yung variable cost same lang naman. So ang sales natin magiging 360,000. Pag kinuha natin yung contribution margin which is 30% naman, so that's 108,000, right? Yan. 81,000 pa rin po yung ating fixed cost. So magkano na yung operating income natin? So 108 minus 81,000, that's 27,000. Lumalabas po na ang DOL natin ay 108 over 27,000. So ano po talaga ang sagot? It's 4. Okay? So bakit kaya 12 ang naging answer ng iba? Baka 108 over 9,000 ang ginawa. Re-recompute po yung operating income mo, ha? Hindi po itong original na operating income. Nagbago po yung sales, so therefore magbabago rin po yung operating income natin, di ba? Kasi nga, di ba, ang DOL ay mine-measure natin kung gaano ka-sensitive ang ating changes in our profit sa changes ng sales natin. Tingnan niyo po, nag-increase ng ang 60,000 ng sales natin, ang laki ng in-increase sa ating operating profit. Ayan. So let's go to number 4. I think this one you can answer in a minute also. So I'm giving you a minute to answer this one, but I'll read the problem first. So Ravinsky Corporation, a company that produces and sells a single product, has provided its contribution format income statement for November for 5,700 units. So yan po yung ating income statement. If the company sells for 5,300 units lang, its net operating income should be blank. O kaya-kaya po natin to in less than a minute. So please provide me the answer. Hintayin ko po sa chat box. Okay. So, nandiyan na yung mga answers natin. 15,4, 15,4. So, everybody answered for 50,400. Kaya naman to. So, 5,300 units. Ano ang net operating income natin? Pwede naman na hindi na tayo dumaan sa sales, sa variable. Pwede tayo dumiretso na sa contribution margin. Kasi, just like what we have presented a while ago, consistent naman po yung ratio and proportion ng mga yan. So contribution margin natin per unit would be 131,000. Divide po natin ng 5,700 units. Lumalabas po na ito ay 23 pesos. Tama ba? Tama ba yung ano natin? 23 pesos. 131,100 divided by 5,700 units. So that's 23. Multiply po natin with the number of units na tinatanong. That's 5,300. So ang ating contribution margin with the other sales level na minention dito ay 121,900. Ang fixed expenses mo will still be 106,500. And you are correct that the answer is 15,400. Very good. Okay. Next question. Ayan. For this one, I'll wait for mga 20 seconds lang to 30 seconds lang for your answer. So the Bronco Bergfried Company reported the following information. Ang tanong lang po, how much will the sale of one additional case add to Bronco's net operating income? So magkano po yung madadagdag na income if we sell one more case? So please put your answers in our chat box. 1, 100, 51. All right. Ang tanong po, how much sale? Yan po, diyan po tayo nagkakatalo ng konti. 51 ba talaga or 100? Basahin uli natin tanong. How much will the sale of one additional case add to Bronco's net operating income? Magkano lang yung madadagdag? So tama naman po na 51 ang net operating income. Ang tinatanong, magkano yung madadagdag? So it's only 100 pesos. But to show you, so 40,000, pwede po dito na tayo, di ba? Divided by 400 cases, that's 100 pesos per unit. Eh, isa lang naman ang nadagdag. Wala namang changes sa fixed expenses natin. So therefore, whatever change in your CM is also the change in your net operating income. So the answer is 100 pesos. Okay? So be careful po ha, hindi po 5-1. But you are correct that the 5-1 is the net operating income for 401 cases. All right. So let's continue. Ayan. For this one, I'm giving you, ang question po kasi, assuming that these changes are incorporated in the budget, what should be the budgeted net operating income? I'm giving you 1.5 minutes to answer for this one. But I'll read the problem first. Wilson Company prepared the following preliminary budget assuming no advertising expenditures. Given the selling price of 10 pesos per unit, unit sales of 100,000 units, variable expenses to 600, and fixed expenses na 300,000. Based on the market study, the company estimated that it could increase the unit selling price by 15% and increase the unit sales volume by 10% if 100,000 pesos were spent on advertising. Assuming that these changes are incorporated in its budget, what should be the budgeted net operating income? So I'm giving you 1.5 minutes to answer this one. So put that in our chat box. Let's check your answers. 205, 265. Oy, dalawang nakikita ko answer. 205, 265, 265, 205. 205,000. Ayan. So let's solve for this one. So sabi kanina, ang unit selling price mag-i-increase ng 15%. So the new selling price would be 1150. Ayan. And the unit sales ay mag-i-increase ng 10%. So this will now become 110,000 units. So gawin na po natin yung ating income statement. Ang sales natin ay 110,000 times 11.5. So that's magkano? 1,265,000. And then the variable cost natin would be di ba, variable expenses natin ay 600. Ito siguro yung nakalimutan gawin ng iba. Variable po siya. 600,000 divided by 100,000 is 6 pesos per unit. So that would be 660,000. Huwag kalimutan, 110,000 times 6. So ang contribution margin natin ay 605,000. So ang fixed cost natin ay dating 300 magiging 400,000 na. Nag-spend tayo for advertising. So minus 400,000, ang ating operating income would be 205,000. Ayan. So yung mga nag-265 dyan, mukhang alam ko na kung saan nagkamali dito sa variable cost po. Okay, so be careful with that. Let's go to number 7. This one, I'm giving you 2 minutes to answer. Kasi medyo mahaba at ang tanong ay yung change, increase or decrease on the company's monthly net operating income. Okay, so your time starts now. Okay, check natin yung answers nyo before I proceed with the solution 8989. Okay, mukhang pare-parehas naman tayo. Mukhang baka tama naman yung ating answers. Sige. Gawin po natin. So, hindi ko binasa kanina. I just let you read the problem on your own. Ito yung scenario natin before. Selling price, variable expenses, and CM. And there are changes. And we are going to take effect the changes. So, ano mangyayari sa ating operating income? Ano ba yung mga changes? Una, fixed expenses are 499 per month. Hindi naman to changes. Ito yung fixed expenses per month. The company is currently selling 5,000 units per month. The marketing manager would like to cut the selling price by 13. By 13. So this will now become 147. And increase the advertising budget by 33,000. So ibig sabihin, may another increase sa fixed cost. This will now become 532,000. Di ba? Plus 33,000 po tayo sa fixed cost natin. The marketing manager predicts that these two changes would increase monthly sales by 900 units. So this will now become 5,900 units. And the increase or decrease on the monthly, the company's monthly net operating income would be blank. So yun po yung hinahanap natin. So compare lang pala natin yung 5,000 at saka 5,900 na performance. Magkano sales? Actually dito, pwede tayong dumiretso sa contribution margin na. Pero yung iba sa inyo, baka ginawa nyo, you started from sales, wala namang problema. Pero pag tinignan natin dito, wala naman nagbago sa variable expenses natin. Therefore, the contribution margin is 99. So pwede natin idiretso sa contribution margin na instead of starting from sales pa. So contribution margin natin, kapag 5,000 units would be 5,000 times 112. Answer is 560,000. Ayan. Ang fixed cost po natin currently is 499,000. So, ang OI natin or operating income is 560 minus 499. So, the answer is 61,000. Ayan. Magkano na yung OI natin kapag 5,900 units na yung nabenta natin? So, 5,900 multiply natin ng 99. Ayan. 584, 100 po ang ating contribution margin. Minus sa fixed cost na 532,000. 532 na po kasi meron tayong increase in the advertising budget. So the answer is 584, 100 minus the 532,000. So that would give us 52,100 na operating income. Ang tanong po ay changes or increase or decrease. So meron tayong decrease na 8,900 sa ating net operating income. Check ko nga po ang mga humabol na chat. 8989, that's correct. Very good, very good. Okay, so let's go to number 8. Sige, pagpahingayin ko muna kayo sa pagpapasagot. Ako muna dito magsasagot. So, ang tinatanong po dito, a company makes a single product that it sells for 16 pesos per unit. Fixed costs are 76,800 pesos per month, and the product has contribution margin ratio of 40%. The company's actual sales are 224,000. Its margin of safety is blank. So, di ba, pag MOS ang hinahanap, actual sales minus the break-even sales. Di ba? Ang actual sales po natin ay 224,000. Hinahanap ang margin of safety, edi hanapin natin yung break-even sales to get the MOS. Paano natin makukuha yung sales na break-even? Di ba? FC over CMR. Ang fixed cost mo po ay 76,800 over the CMR of 40%. Lumalabas po na 76,800 divided by 0.4, 192,000. That is your break-even sales. So, ililess lang natin the 192,000 here. So, 224,000 minus 192,000. That is equal to 32,000 pesos. That is your margin of safety. Okay? And number 9. ED Manufacturing Incorporated produces and sells ice skates. The company's net operating income is 40,000 with a degree of operating leverage of 3. If sales increase by 10%, how much net operating income should be expected? Okay? So ang meron lang po tayo dito ay 40,000 na net operating income. Kasi nahanap yung operating income if the sales increase by 10%. So ang OI po natin ay 40,000. Nagbigay naman po na DOL na 3. So ang pwede natin madagdag sa makukuha natin ay yung CM natin. Remember, DOL is 3 CM over OI. If your OI is 40,000, therefore ang CM mo ay 120,000. So this is 120,000. Tinatanong, mag-increase ang sales ng 10%. Walang sinabi kung units or selling price, basta ang sales mo nag-increase. And that would be the same effect sa ating contribution margin. So, i-multiply mo lang ito ng 1.1, so that would be 132,000. Hinahanap po ngayon yung operating income natin if this is the new contribution margin. Paano makukuha? Kunin po yung fixed cost. Yung prior to that, yung current na fixed cost natin, and that is 80,000. Eh wala naman pong sinabing magbabago sa fixed cost. Minus 80,000. So our operating income is 52,000. So that's the answer in this item. Ayan. So this one is another problem on computation ng break-even points in units at saka in peso sales. Pero kung titingnan mo, ang binigay sa atin ng income statement is in the absorption costing method na format. Na sales minus cost of sales equals gross profit minus selling and general and administrative expenses equals operating income. Pero we can transform this into a variable costing method approach or contribution margin approach by looking at the data below. So, transform natin. Sabi po dito, ang cost of sales ay may variable at saka may fixed component. Ang variable ay 75%. Ang fixed po natin ay 25%. Ang ating selling, general, and administrative expenses, 40% variable and 60% fixed. So, i-reformat lang natin into contribution margin approach. So, your sales minus your variable cost, that would be your CM, minus your fixed cost, that would be your operating income. Magkano sales ang meron tayo? Same lang, 3 million pesos. Okay? Magkano variable cost? E di yung 75% ng 2,000 at saka yung 40% ng 800. So magkano po yun? 75% ng 2,000, that's 1.5 million. Plus 40% ng 800, 320,000. So ang total variable cost natin ay 1,820,000. Ang CM po natin, so 3 million minus 1,820,000, it's 1,180,000. Your fixed cost is 25% ng cost of sales, which is 500,000, and 60% of your 800,000, which is 480,000. So total of 980,000. So lumalabas po na 200,000 ang ating operating income pa rin kahit na contribution margin approach. And at this point, mas madali na natin ma-apply yung analysis natin ng break-even. Ito yung sinasabi natin na isa sa benefits ng having the variable costing method na gagamitin natin as compared with the absorption costing method. So marami tayong management decisions na magagawa or na mas mabilis na magagawa because of the format ng ating income statement. So with that, X is equal to FC over CMU. Ano ba yung FC natin? That is 980,000. Magkano CMU natin? Ang CMU natin ay contribution margin per unit. That's 1,180. Divide natin ang number of units na 60,000. Okay? So 60,000 po ang number of units natin. So gawin po natin 1,180. Diretso po natin kasi butal-butal to, 60,000. So para ma-reduce or ma-lessen yung ating differences due to rounding off, diretso po natin. So 980,000 divided by 1,180 divided by 60. Ayan. Lumalabas po na we should sell 49,830.51 units. Okay, 0.51 or pwede naman na 49,831 units. Pwede rin po. Okay, peso sales ang tinatanong. Pwede na natin diretso. Multiply na lang natin ng selling price per unit, which is 50 pesos. So times 50 pesos, the answer would be 2,491,525. So that's the break-even sales. Or pwede rin naman po na instead of doing that, yung sales natin is RFC over CMR, di ba? Ang fixed cost natin ay 980,000. Ang CMR po natin ay 1,180. Anong pag-divide natin? Yung 3 million. Kasi contribution margin ratio. Ang lalabas din po niyan ay 2,491,525. So parehas lang po. So sometimes, pag meron ka ng break-even point in terms of units, multiply mo lang ng selling price per unit, kuha mo na yung break-even sales. O kung wala naman, dumiretso ka na lang dito, mas mabilis pa, sales is equal to fixed cost over CMR or contribution margin ratio. Okay? Next. For this one, balik tayo. Magsagot po tayo ng 1 minute. So I'll be waiting for your answer. But before that, let me read the problem. So a company manufactures a single product. Estimated cost data regarding this product and other information for the product and the company are as follows. Ang tinatanong lang po ulit, the number of units the company must sell in the coming year to reach its break-even point. Yeah, so I'm giving you a minute to answer this one. Okay, may mga answers na. Thank you for your answers. Pare-parehas. Okay, wala namang na biktima. Patingin nga, wala ba talaga na biktima? Lahat 41 to 50. Let's check if this is correct. Yung mahabol pa. Oh, so far, isa lang naman ang sagot. Okay. X ang nahanap. So that's FC over CMU. Ang fixed cost natin, binigay naman po na fixed cost and expenses. Ito total mo lang po ng konti. So that's 660,000. Okay. Ang CMU natin, meron po tayong SPU na 40 pesos. Pero ang VCU natin, meron po tayong variable production cost na 22. Okay? Pero meron po tayong sales commission na 5%. So ito ay part ng variable cost per unit. Multiply natin ng 40 pesos and that is 2 pesos. Kaya ang VCU natin ay 24. Kaya naman, ang CMU po natin ay 16 pesos. So divided by 16, you will get 660,000 over 16 and that's 41,250 units and you are all correct. Okay. Next. Ayan. So, this one, ako na muna mag-solve ulit. Pahinga muna kayo sa pag-answer. So, basahin natin ang tanong. The number of units of the new product that Lacson must sell to break even. So, units lang to break even ulit. And the maximum after-tax profit that can be earned by Lacson Company from sales of the new product during the next fiscal year. Gawin po natin. Ayan. So Lacson has developed a new product that will be marketed for the first time. Basta ang alam naman natin pag break-even in units, X is FC over CMU. Gawin natin na paraan na makuha lang natin yung kailangan natin. Okay, so let's continue. Although the marketing department estimates that 35,000 units could be sold at 36 pesos per unit, Lacson's management has only allocated enough manufacturing capacity to manufacture 25,000 units. Kaya pala naging issue yung what is the maximum after-tax profit. Kasi minsan, baka makalituhan natin yung 35,000 na pwedeng mabenta in the market, this is the demand. Pero what we have lang ay 25,000 units na capacity. So sometimes, even if you want to sell as much as 35,000 units, ang capacity mo lang ay 25,000 units. So hindi mo talaga magagawa yun. So therefore, yung maximum after-tax profit can be computed out of the 25,000 units instead of the 35,000. Okay, let's continue. The fixed costs that are associated with the new product are budgeted at 400,000 pesos per year, which includes 60,000 of depreciation on new manufacturing equipment. E ano naman? So kasama naman talaga siya. So data for each of the following product is below and Lacson is subject to 40% tax rate. Meron na po tayong fixed cost na 400,000 pesos. Okay, CMU na lang kailangan natin. Magkano bentahan? SPUI 36. E pinakita po dito na ang variable cost mo ay, total niya ay 16 pesos. So minus the VCU na 16, 20 pesos po. So over 20, lumalabas po na sagot sa number 1 na question will be 20,000 units. Sometimes ang haba lang ng problem, pero ano naman you just get what you need. Break even in units ang hinanap, just look for the FC and CMU. Find a way on how to compute for that. Okay? So let's go to number 2. Hinahanap ang maximum after-tax profit. So nasabi na natin kanina na ang maximum after-tax profit natin would be based on the 25,000 units. Alam mo na yung CMU mo. Kunin na lang natin yung CM. CM is 20 times the 25,000 units, which is 500,000. Magkano fixed cost natin? Di ba binigay naman sa atin na 400,000 pesos. So our operating income is 100,000 pesos. Kaya naman, ang ating after-tax profit, i-minus lang muna natin yung tax natin na 40% which is 40,000. Therefore, the answer, yung net income natin or the after-tax profit is 60,000. Okay? So that's the answer in number 2. Let's go to the next problem. This one is quite long. This is the last para sa ating CVP analysis for one product alone. Kasi if there are 2 or more products, yan yung pang last natin na discussion for today. So ito na yung last problem natin na nagbebenta ng isang uri lang ng product. Okay, I'd like to turn off my video lang for a while para magkasya. Ayan. So there are 6 questions and under each question maraming ibang hinihingi. So basahin lang muna natin yung problem. A company manufactures a company manufactures plastic balls. It has a ball that sells for 25 pesos. At present, the ball is manufactured in a small plant that relies heavily on direct labor workers. Thus, variable costs are high, totaling 15 pesos per ball. Ayan. So, SPU, 25. VCU, 15. So, ang CMU, dito pa lang muna, meron tayong 10. Okay. Of which, 60% daw ng variable cost ay direct labor. Last year, the company sold 30,000 units of these balls with the following results. Ayan, 90,000 yung profit natin. Ang requirements natin ay 6. Punta po tayo sa next slide. Ito po, nakaisa-isa na po yung mga yon. So, copy lang natin yung kanina. SPU is 25. VCU is 15. So, CMU ay 10. Ang tanong po muna dito sa number 1, compute the CM ratio and the break-even point in balls. So, letter A, CMR ay 10 over 25. So that is ilang percent? 10 over 25 is 40% ba? That is 40%. That's for the contribution margin ratio. How many balls to break even? So X is equal to, magkano yung fixed cost? 210,000 over the CMU na 10 pesos. So ilang balls to break even? 21,000 balls. Madali lang naman, kaya-kaya naman po natin. And letter B, degree of operating leverage at last year's level. So DOL, basta kilala lang natin yung mga terms and we know the formula as well, how to compute for that. So that's 300,000 na CM over OI or profit na 90,000. So the answer is 3.33. That is your DOL. Okay, so that's for number 1. Ayan, so let's go to number 2. Due to an increase in labor rates, the company estimates that the variable costs will increase by 3 pesos per ball next year. If this change takes place, the selling price per ball remains constant at 25 pesos. What will be the new CM ratio and break-even point in balls? Di ba kanina, 25 minus 15 equals 10. SPU, VCU, CMU. Mag-increase ng 3 pesos, magiging 18 po ito. So mag-ano na po ang bago natin na CM ratio. So kunin lang po natin. So 25 minus 18, that would be 7. Therefore, the new CM ratio would be 7 over 25. And 7 over 25 is 7 divided by 25 is 28%. So that is your CM ratio or 0.28. Next would be, what is the break-even point in balls? So X would be, magkano yung fixed cost? 210,000. Pero ang ating CMU, hindi na po siya 10 kundi 7. So ang answer po natin ay 30,000 balls sa number 2. Okay. Let's continue. Same pa rin po. Case 2, refer to number 2 data, meaning the change in variable cost will take place. So 18, so 25 minus 18, 7 po ang ating CMU. How many balls would have to be sold next year to earn the same profit as last year? So, ang gagawin lang natin, X is equal to 210,000 na fixed cost plus 90,000 na profit last year. Divide lang po natin ng 7, which is the CMU. So, 300,000, di ba? 210 plus 90 divided by 7. So, ang answer po natin ay 42,857 balls. Ganyan po karami ang dapat natin ibenta to achieve the same profit as last year, which is 90,000. Alright? So let's go to number 4. Refer again to data number 2. The president feels that the company must raise the selling price of its plastic balls. O balikan muna natin, 25, 15, 10. Original na scenario. Naging 25, 18, 7. Ayan. So if the company wants to maintain the CM ratio last year, di ba ang CM ratio natin last year ay 40%. What selling price per ball must it charge next year to cover the increased labor cost? So lumalabas, 40% pa rin ang gusto niyang mangyari ito, 60% ito. Ang tinatanong, magkano selling price ang kailangan natin para ma-maintain natin yung the same CM ratio na meron tayo. Alam naman natin na 60% ang cost natin. Ang pwede lang natin gawin, 18 pesos divided by 60%. So the answer is 30 pesos. So in that way, SPU would be 30. The VCU would be 18. So the CMU would now be 12. And that consists of, this is 100%, this is 60%, and this is 40%. Yung CM ratio natin. Alright, let's go to number 5. The same lang naman po yung problem, kaya hindi ko na binabasa yung mga nasa taas sa part. Yung questions na lang po yung binabasa ko. So the company is discussing the construction of a new automated manufacturing plant. So balik po tayo sa original na data. The new plant would slash the variable cost per ball by 40%. Di ba? Balik lang po natin, SPU 25. Originally, VCU is 15 and the CMU is 10. Ang gusto mangyari is slash ang variable cost by 40%. Pag nag-less tayo ng 40%, magiging magkano na lang to? 9 pesos na lang. But it would cost fixed cost per year to double. It would cost fixed cost per year to double. So this now becomes 420,000 yung bagong fixed cost natin. Ang tanong po, if the new plant is built, what would be the company's new CM ratio and new break-even point in balls? So magkano na yung CM ratio? Wala po siyang binanggit tungkol sa SPU. So 25 pa rin po. Lumalabas po na 16 pesos yung CMU natin. So ang CMR po natin would be 16 over 25. Ano po yun? 16 divided by 25. So that is 64%. Tama ba? So that's the answer. 64% yung new CMR natin. Pero ang tanong, the new break-even point in balls or the number of units that must be sold to break even, that's 420,000 na fixed cost, di ba? Over the new CMU na 16. So 420,000 divided by 16, your answer is 26,250 balls. Ayan. So let's continue with number 6. Same pa rin po yung problem. Same pa rin po dun sa situation number 5. The company is discussing the construction of a new automated manufacturing plant. The new plant would slash the variable cost by 40% pa rin, but it would cost fixed cost per year to double. So same with number 5, no? If the new plant is built, how many balls will have to be sold next year to earn the same profit which is 90,000 as last year. Di ba, ang bago nating fixed cost ay 420,000. May desired income po tayo na 90,000. Tinatanong, magkano to break even? Ano po CMU natin sa nakaraan? Okay, that's 16. Ayan. So the answer is 420,000 plus 90,000 divided by 16. The answer is 31,875 balls. Yan po ang dapat natin mabenta to earn the same profit. Ang sumunod po na tanong, assume po natin that the new plant is built and that next year, the company manufactures and sells 30,000 balls, the same number as sold as last year. Compute the profit and DOL kapag 30,000 yung balls na nabenta natin. Okay? So ang sales po natin, actually pwede tayo dumiretso ng CM ulit. Diretso po tayo ng CM. Ang CM po natin ay 30,000 balls times 16. So that's 480,000. Magkano po yung fixed cost natin? That's 420,000, right? So ang ating operating income would be 60,000. Ayan. So ano po ang DOL natin? Ang DOL natin, or sa cursor, yan. Ang DOL natin ay 480,000 divided by 60,000. So that would give us 8 na DOL. Okay? So that's the answer for case number 2. If you have a question, ilagay lang po sa chat box natin. At this point, we are going to discuss what if there are 2 or more products. I let you understood first yung one product lang. Kasi kapag naiintindihan mo mabuti, kapag one product, mas madali mo maintindihan kapag 2 or more products. May konting difference lang. Meron lang tayo idadagdag na step, pero all the rest will just be the same as sa computation sa CVP analysis natin. Okay. First, you just have to come up with a schedule na para makuha mo yung weighted CMU or weighted CMR ng ating mga products. Di ba ang formula natin X is equal to FC over CMU. Pero when we are talking about 2 or more products, instead of CMU, same formula pero gagawin mo lang na weighted CMU. Paano kung may desired income? Add lang tayo dito, pati yung mga additional expenses. Okay? Sales, ganoon din po, FC over weighted CMR. Paano may madadagdag? Add lang po tayo. And just to show, we have to perform 3 steps lang. Una, gawa ng schedule. Ano ba yung mga products natin? A and B. You just have to get the sales mix. Nasabi na natin kanina, for every product of A, ilang B ang meron tayo. Sabi rito, 40%. In terms of percent, ang ginawang expression dito ng sales mix. So, 40% ng A, tapos 60% ng B. Yan ang sales mix natin. Okay. And then ang CMU natin would be, ang selling price daw kasi 4, K, and 3 for A and B respectively. Tapos, ang unit variable cost for A is 250, while for B, it's 1.75. So, ang CMU ni A ay 4 minus 2.5. So, that's 1.25. Ang CMU ni B ay 3 minus 1.75, which is, saan galing yung 125 na sinulat ko? 1.5 to. 1.5. Ayan. Tapos sumunod, ito po yung 1.25. Ayan. So, ang una talaga na step na kailangan natin magawa ay makuha yung weighted CMU. How do we get the weighted CMU? Simply multiply the sales mix with the respective na CMU. So that's 40% of 1.5 and that is 0.60. And 60% of 1.25 and that is 0.75. Oops, ayan, 0.75. Magkano po ang ating weighted CMU? So 0.6 plus 0.75, that's 1.35. Ayan. So once you have the weighted CMU, perform mo na yung normal na ginagawa natin and that's X is equal to FC over CMR. Magkano pa yung fixed cost natin? That's 67,500. So 67,500 divided by 1.35. We are computing actually the composite break-even. 67,500 divided by 1.35. Ang answer po natin ay 50,000. Okay? Again, first step, weighted CMU. Second step, get the composite break-even. And then the third step, i-multiply natin yung composite break-even with the sales mix to get your X. So 50,000 times 0.4, 20,000. Times 0.6, it's 30,000. Overall, that's 50,000. Ibig sabihin, sometimes ang tanong sa exam lang, how many units of A must be sold? So the answer is 20,000. How many units of B? It's only 30,000. Pero ang tinanong, how many total units of products must be sold to break even? 50,000 units. Pero ang composition, 40:60% ng A and B respectively. Nakuha po? And just to prove, ano ba ang CM natin kapag 20,000 na nabenta natin? So 20,000 na 1.5 times 1.5 na CMU, that's 30,000, right? 30,000 times 1.25, that's 37,500. If we get the total CM, that's 67,500. If this is CM minus the fixed cost of 67,500, lumalabas na naka-break even po talaga tayo. Okay? So kung may desired lang tayong net income, i-add lang po sa numerator natin. Pero all the rest will just be the same. Okay? Last na ito na problem for more than one product. So more than one products. So this time, we just have to take down ano-ano ba yung mga products na meron tayo. So ang products po natin ay A, B, and C. Get the sales mix, get the CMU, and the weighted CMU. And later on, get your X. Okay? SM or sales mix, 25 of A, sabi rito, 5 units of B, and then 20 units of C. And then, ang CMU natin, the company fixed costs are for 92,000. Unit selling price and unit variable costs are as follows. 10 and 5, so 5 ang CMU nito. 6 and 4 for B, so 2. 8 and 4.5 for C, so that's 3.5. Let's get the weighted CMU. So this is 125. This is 10. Magkano po dito? 70. So ang total po natin na weighted CMU ay 205. So what's next? X is equal to 492,000 divided by 205. So lumalabas po na ang composite break-even natin ay 492,000 divided by 205. 2,400. Ayan. So what's next? I-multiply po sa sales mix. So 24 times 25. So ito po ay 60,000 na A. How about sa B? 24 times 5. So that's 12,000 units ng B to break even. How many units of C to break even? 24 times 20. So that's 48,000. How many total number of units must be sold to break even? So 60 plus 12 plus 48,000 units. That's 120,000 units. Okay? To break even. Ang tanong ko lang dito, what if yung ating product, A, B, and C, gusto mo lang naman i-simplify yung given. Di ba 25 is to 5 is to 20 is parang 5 is to 1 is to 4. Kung gusto mong paliitin, pwede naman po. So tingnan natin kung anong effect. CMU, parehas kaya magiging answer natin. CMU is 5, 2, and 3.5. Ang weighted CMU po natin ay 25, 2, at saka 3.5 times 4. 3.5 times 4. So that's 14. Total natin ay plus 2 plus 25. That's 41. Okay? Parehas kaya magiging sagot. So X is equal to 492,000 divided by 2. divided by 41. What would be the answer? For 92,000 divided by 41, that's 12,000. Yun lang. Magkaiba na ng composite break-even. Pero yung pinaka-answer, tingnan po natin mangyayari. What's the third step? 12,000 times 5. So 12,000 times 5, that's 60,000. Kaparehas po nung nasa kaliwa natin. 12,000 times 1, so that's 12,000. Parehas pa rin po. 12,000 times 4, that's 48,000. Lumalabas na 120,000 po ang total number of units. So kahit i-simplify mo pala, gusto mo lang talagang i-simplify yung ating expression, yung sales mix natin, pwede po. Huwag lang na composite break-even ang tanong. Pag composite break-even ang tanong, para safe tayo kay examiner, gamitin natin kung ano yung binigay niya, which is 25, 5:20. Pero kung ang tanong naman ay yung number of units that must be sold to break even or to achieve a certain income, pwede mo pong i-simplify. Pero basta ang tingnan po ang total kasi ng sales mix natin sa kaliwa, 25 plus 5 plus 20 ay 50. Pag multiply ang 24 times 50, 120,000. Ito naman po, ang total natin dito ay 10. Pag pinag-multiply yung 12,000 times 10 is also 120,000. So nagkakaroon lang ng reduction sa composite break-even, pero the final answer would be the same. You know, how many number of units must be sold to achieve whether break-even or certain income. Ano uli yung steps? Number 1, compute for weighted CMU by multiplying yung sales mix by your respective CMU ng mga products. Number 2, get the composite break-even. How? Divide the FC by the weighted CMU. And number 3, multiply po natin yung makukuha natin ng composite break-even with the respective na sales mix para makuha natin yung number of units that must be sold for every product and get the total for the total number of units. So yun lang po yung gagawin natin if we are doing the CVP analysis for more than one na produkto. Okay? So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today's session. So that would be cost volume profit analysis or CVP or break-even analysis. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me para po mapag-usapan natin yung mga problems na nakikita nyo na parang iba yata na konti sa naging napag-usapan natin. So have a great day and keep safe always and God bless.